Hello and welcome back to Bombchu Gaming News. My name is Chris, and I'll be covering some of the news from this week that we found interesting. 2K Games has added unskippable pregame ads into NBA 2K21, and their excuse for doing so is pretty weak. NBA 2K21 released last month to mediocre reviews. Critics and fans seemed to enjoy the actual gameplay, but cited numerous issues with the game, including bugs, aggressive microtransactions, and an overall feeling of stagnation that made the game feel like another cookie-cutter entry in a sports franchise. 1 month after the game's launch, players noticed that one of the recent updates had brought actual commercials into the pre-game loading screens. Normally, these pre-game loading screens would feature a video called 2K TV, which would hype things like the upcoming game and offer trivia to fill your time while the game loaded, as well as allowing you to edit the lineup of your team. Now, the 2K TV segments only start after the ad, and the option to edit your lineup or otherwise circumvent the ad is unavailable until the commercial has finished playing. After facing backlash online, 2K responded on Twitter, stating the whole thing was just an accident, and that, quote, "Yesterday's 2K TV ad placement impacted our players' experience in a way that we didn't intend, as these ads are not meant to run as part of the pregame introduction. This will be fixed in future episodes. Thank you for your continued feedback," end quote. If this was a first-time offense for 2K Games, this kind of apology and excuse might get people to forget about this whole thing. However, 2K has been adding commercials to their full-priced retail games for years now. NBA 2K19 started introducing pre-game commercials after the title was put on a deep sale, and 2K20 had them added to the game within a couple months of release. These ads also inevitably end up lasting longer than the actual load times of the game, forcing players to sit through the rest of the commercial before being allowed to play the game that they've already paid for and has already finished loading. While it's easy to say that users should have seen this coming based on 2K's track record, that still doesn't give 2K Games an excuse to deceive and rip off consumers like this. It's also worth pointing out the timing of the commercial's introduction to the game. Now that it's been over a month since release, the reviews are already written, and the game is already sold very well. 2K has their audience on the hook, and now they're trying to reel in as much money from their wallets as they can get. After all, they've been doing it for years, so why stop now? Another lead member of the development team behind Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2 has left the project. Publisher Paradox Interactive confirmed that senior narrative designer Kara Ellison is no longer working on Bloodlines 2, and that she is no longer working for developer Heartsuit Labs either. This appears to simply be the latest entry in the ongoing story that is the troubled development of Bloodlines 2. Back in August, Bloodlines 2 was delayed until sometime in 2021. This delay was then followed by the announcement that lead writer Brian Mitsoda and creative director Kai Clooney were moving on from the game and from Heartsuit Labs. While Heartsuit Labs or Paradox Interactive didn't give reasons for their departure at the time, Brian Mitsoda made it clear afterwards that this was a firing and not a peaceful parting of ways. With Kara Ellison joining that growing list of ex-employees, it's hard to remain optimistic about the fate of Bloodlines 2. While these employees were all more involved in the narrative aspects of the game, and some could assume that their work on the game was mostly finished, things just don't seem to be going smoothly from the outside looking in. The last major game that was involved in a similar situation prior to release was Anthem, when BioWare seemed to be dropping longtime employees left and right. BioWare also had similar problems before the launch of Mass Effect Andromeda. People at the time assumed, or maybe just hoped, that their work on these games was finished, but both of these games' disastrous launches proved otherwise. While I would love to see Bloodlines 2 turn out to be a great game when it's eventually released, it's getting harder and harder by the month to stay optimistic. And those are the headlines that caught our eye for this week. Make sure you let us know your thoughts on the news in the comments below, and we'll see you again next week. A huge shout out and thank you to Michael Slater, Blake Harms, and all of our other glorious patrons over on Patreon. Your support is what makes shows like this one possible. Thanks for watching.